Hey Reddit. This might be a bit long, but I'm hoping some of you can offer me some advice or just help me understand what the hell I'm supposed to do. I'm writing this because I'm in complete shock, and I feel like my entire world has been turned upside down. This is a bit of a roller coaster, so please bear with me. So, my name is Alex, and I've been married to my wife, Emily, for 5 years. We don't have kids yet, and we were in a pretty comfortable routine. We met in college, and everything was fine up until recently. We're both in our early 30s, and she's been working as a marketing manager for a mid-sized company for the past couple of years. I work from home, so I usually take care of a lot of the housework, and, I guess you could say, I'm the one who's home more often. Lately, though, Emily's been acting a little distant. I'm not saying it's anything dramatic, but I started noticing small things. She was coming home later than usual, not texting as much, and when she did come home, she was on her phone a lot. I tried not to make a big deal out of it, but as time went on, I couldn't help but feel like something was off. A week ago, I decided to take a day off work and surprise Emily at her office. I'd done it a few times before, showing up with lunch or bringing her a coffee. Just a nice gesture to let her know I was thinking about her. I thought maybe it would help break up the routine, make her smile, and reconnect us a little. I also figured it would be fun to pop by and see her in a work setting. So, I showed up unannounced, thinking it would be a nice surprise. But when I arrived, her coworker, someone I recognized from her social media posts, told me she had left early that day. I didn't think much of it, because Emily sometimes leaves work for errands or meetings, but this was the first time I'd heard about it. I called her, but she didn't pick up. Now, this is where things get complicated. I didn't think much of it at the time, but the fact that she didn't answer her phone didn't sit right with me. I figured she might be in a meeting or something, so I decided to just head home and wait for her. The thing is, when I pulled into our parking garage and got up to the apartment, something strange caught my eye through the window. I saw movement. There was someone inside the apartment with her. At first, I thought it might just be one of her friends, or maybe she had some work-related thing going on at home. But as I got closer to the door and looked through the peephole, my heart dropped. It was another man. He was sitting on our couch, and Emily was sitting next to him, laughing and talking in a way that felt intimate. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I stood there for a moment, just staring, trying to process what I was seeing. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I could tell that this wasn't just some casual hangout. The body language, the way they were sitting so close, the way they were laughing and smiling, it was unmistakable. This wasn't a business meeting. This wasn't a friend. I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing, and I couldn't make sense of anything. All I could think was, what the hell is going on? I can't even begin to describe how I felt in that moment. I was frozen in place, my mind was racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and my heart was beating so fast I thought it would explode. I'd seen it with my own eyes. Emily, my wife, was with another man. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't know how to react. I stood there for what felt like hours, just staring through the peephole, watching them interact. I watched her laugh at something he said, and I watched him touch her arm in a way that was far more intimate than I ever thought I'd see her with anyone other than me. I had no idea who this man was, and it hit me all at once. I was completely out of the loop in my own marriage. After a few moments, I realized I couldn't just stand there. I couldn't wait for things to play out, not like this. My whole body was shaking, and I had no idea what I was about to do, but I knew I needed answers. I stepped back from the door, took a deep breath, and knocked. My hand was still trembling as I did it, but I forced myself to sound calm when I heard her footsteps approach. Emily opened the door, and her face dropped the moment she saw me standing there. I couldn't tell if she was more surprised, guilty, or panicked. "Alex," she said, her voice wavering. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I replied, keeping my tone as steady as I could. "Who's that guy?" She looked over her shoulder at the man on the couch, then back at me. For a split second, she looked guilty, like she was trying to come up with an explanation, but it didn't take long for her to put on a mask of calmness. "Alex, he's just a friend. We were working on some stuff for a project. I didn't expect you to be here today." My heart sank. A friend? That was her explanation? A friend sitting way too close to her, laughing, touching her? It didn't make sense. "Really?" I said, my voice cutting through the air. "Because that sure didn't look like a work project to me. I've never seen you act that way with any friend before. What's going on, Emily? Am I supposed to just believe that you're working on something? Is that your excuse?" Emily's face went pale, and I could see the panic setting in. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out at first. She clearly wasn't prepared for me to confront her. "Who is he?" I asked again, my patience thinning. "Why is he here when you told me you were at work today?" Her eyes darted to the man on the couch, and I could see her trying to gauge whether she should introduce him to me. Her eyes flickered with hesitation, and then she sighed. "His name's Sam. He's a colleague of mine. We've been working on a side project for a few months, but I didn't think you'd want to know about it yet." "Don't lie to me," I said sharply, stepping forward. "This doesn't look like a side project. It looks like an affair. I came home today thinking I'd surprise you, and instead, I find you with another man in our home, in our space, laughing like everything is fine." Her eyes filled with tears, and she finally stepped aside to let Sam leave the room. "Sam, please give us a moment," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sam didn't protest. He stood up, adjusting his jacket before walking past me with a quick glance. As he left, I could feel the tension in the air thickening. The second the door closed behind him, I turned back to Emily, whose face was now streaked with tears. "Alex, please, let me explain," she said, her voice shaky. "It's not what you think. I've made mistakes, but this isn't an affair. I swear to you." I couldn't control the anger that was bubbling inside me. "Then what the hell is it, Emily? You're sitting here with him in our apartment, laughing, touching, acting like it's no big deal, and you expect me to believe this is just work?" She wiped her eyes, clearly distressed. I don't know what to say. I wasn't thinking clearly, and it got out of hand. I didn't mean for it to happen. Didn't mean for it to happen? I repeated, voice rising. How did it get to this point, Emily? If you were unhappy, why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you come to me instead of whatever this was? You let it go on for months, and now here we are. The silence between us grew, and all I could feel was the rawness of betrayal. Emily took a step forward, but I held up my hand. "No, I need to hear you explain this first." She opened her mouth to speak again, but the words didn't come out at first. Finally, she let out a deep breath. "Alex, I did want to talk to you, but things between us have been off for a while. I felt ignored. I felt alone. Sam was there when I needed someone to talk to. It didn't start as anything more than friendship, I swear. But over time, it became something more. I'm so sorry." My stomach dropped at her words, and I suddenly felt like I was suffocating. I couldn't even look at her the same way anymore. Every word she said made the betrayal sting more and more. I thought I knew her. I thought we had a strong marriage. But this was something I couldn't just brush off. I don't even know how to begin describing what I was feeling after Emily told me the truth. It was like all the air had been sucked out of the room. She had been so calm at first, almost detached, like she didn't realize the gravity of what she was confessing. But the more she spoke, the more I realized just how much she had been hiding from me. "I'm sorry, Alex," she repeated over and over. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I just felt so alone, and Sam, he understood me. He listened when I needed to talk, and over time, things got complicated. But I swear, I never wanted to hurt you." I couldn't even look at her anymore. The woman I had married, the woman I thought I knew, was now a stranger to me. I had spent years believing that our relationship was solid, that we could weather any storm. And now this. She had been hiding this from me, living a double life, and I had no idea. All of our years together felt like a lie. "You didn't mean for it to happen?" I repeated, trying to control the fury that was building inside me. "You didn't mean for it to happen? Emily, do you hear yourself? You've been seeing this guy behind my back. You've been lying to me, and now you're trying to tell me that it was all just a misunderstanding." She closed her eyes, and tears started to fall freely down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you, Alex. I never wanted to betray you. I love you. I really do." Her words hit me like a slap. How could she say she loved me after what she had done? How could she sit there, looking me in the eye, and claim that she loved me while she was sharing intimate moments with another man? The trust one had built with her, the years of our lives together, were now shattered. I had to get out of that apartment. I couldn't sit there anymore, trying to listen to her explanations. I stood up abruptly, walking toward the door. I couldn't stand to be in that space with her, not after everything. But before I left, I looked at her one last time. "I don't know who you are anymore," I said quietly, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this." And with that, I left. I didn't go far after I left the apartment. I just walked aimlessly around the block, trying to clear my head, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. My mind was a mess. My emotions were all over the place. I couldn't stop thinking about the image of her with Sam, laughing, touching him the way she used to touch me. I kept hearing the sound of her voice, so calm, so full of apologies, but I didn't know if I could ever hear those words and believe them again. I ended up at a nearby park, sitting on a bench, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed a few times, and I saw that Emily had sent me messages. I didn't want to read them, but I knew I had to. Maybe I was looking for some kind of reassurance, even though deep down, I knew nothing she said could make this go away. Her first message read, "Alex, I'm so sorry. Please talk to me. I'm not asking for forgiveness right now, but I need you to know that I am willing to do whatever it takes to fix this." The second message came a few minutes later. "I've made the biggest mistake of my life. I regret everything, and I know I've destroyed your trust. Please give me the chance to explain more when you're ready." I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to text her back and tell her it was over, that I couldn't trust her anymore. Another part of me wanted to hear her out, wanted to believe that she could change, that maybe we could rebuild. But how could I rebuild anything with someone who had already broken me? I sat there for hours, lost in my thoughts. I thought about all the good times we had shared, all the moments that I had believed were real. And now, they all felt tainted. How could I ever look at her the same way? How could I trust her again? Eventually, I decided to head back to the apartment. I didn't want to avoid the inevitable, talking about what had happened. I needed to confront it, to confront her, and try to figure out what I was going to do next. But the closer I got to the building, the heavier my heart felt. I knew this conversation wasn't going to be easy, and I wasn't sure I was ready to hear more of her excuses, or even her apologies. When I walked back into the apartment, Emily was sitting on the couch, waiting for me. She looked so small, so fragile, and I couldn't help but feel conflicted. Part of me wanted to run away, but another part of me still wanted answers. "Alex," she said, her voice barely audible, "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking you to give me a chance. I don't know how to fix this, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes." I stood there, not knowing what to say. I needed time. I needed to think. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Emily," I said finally, my voice breaking. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But I need time to process this, to figure out what I'm supposed to do." She nodded, tears still streaming down her face. "I understand, Alex. I'll give you all the time you need, but I won't give up on us." As I turned to leave the room again, I realized one thing. This wasn't going to be over quickly. We had a long road ahead of us, if we even had a road at all. It's been a couple of days since I confronted Emily, and I've been doing a lot of thinking. More than I ever thought I could. I spent the first night after our conversation just lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything she said, everything I saw, everything that had led up to this moment. I felt paralyzed by the sheer weight of it all. I don't think I've ever felt more unsure of anything in my life. When I woke up the next morning, I knew I needed to clear my head. I spent the day alone, trying to think things through, but it felt like no matter where I went, I couldn't escape the constant questions in my mind. Can I ever forgive her? Can I trust her again? Is this a relationship worth saving? Every time I started to picture the future, it was clouded by doubt. I kept picturing Emily with Sam, laughing together, the same way she used to laugh with me. And that hurt more than anything. That laugh, our inside joke, our connection, wasn't just mine anymore. It felt stolen. And no matter how much she apologized, I didn't know if I could get that back. The second night, after I spent most of the day avoiding talking to her, I finally sent Emily a text. It was simple. "We need to talk. Can we meet somewhere tonight?" She texted back almost immediately, "I understand. I'll be waiting for you." I knew this conversation had to happen, but the truth is, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what I wanted from her. I just knew that I couldn't keep going on like this, torn between my love for her and the betrayal I felt. We met at a small coffee shop in the evening, away from the apartment, away from the comfort and the weight of our home. I needed to feel detached from it all. When Emily walked in, she looked the same as always, her eyes a little puffy from crying, but otherwise, she was just my wife, sitting across from me, looking at me with this deep sadness. It felt like we were strangers, and maybe, in some way we were. "I've been thinking a lot, Emily." I started, trying to steady my voice, about everything. About us. About the last few days, and everything you've said. "I don't know if I'm ready to forgive you. I don't know if I can." Her face faltered, but she didn't interrupt. She just waited for me to continue. "The thing is," I went on, "I don't know if I can trust you again. The trust we had, it's gone. And I don't know if I can rebuild that. I don't know if I want to." I paused for a moment, trying to gauge her reaction, but it was hard. She was staring at me, holding herself together, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. I wanted to say something comforting, something that would make her feel better, but it wouldn't have been the truth. And the truth was, I was angry, heartbroken, and confused. I can't stop thinking about everything that's happened. I keep going over it in my head, asking myself if I missed something. If there were signs I didn't see. It's not just the affair, Emily. It's the fact that you kept lying to me. That you hid this from me for so long. She shook her head, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for mine. I never meant for any of this to happen, Alex. I swear. I know I messed up. I can't take it back, but I am sorry. I love you. I need you to understand that. I don't want to lose you. I just didn't know how to fix it. The words she was saying, the same words she'd been saying for days, felt like they were meant to soothe me, but they didn't. They didn't make the pain go away. They didn't undo the betrayal. I wanted to believe her, but I wasn't sure if I could anymore. I don't know what to do, Emily. I'm not sure if I can keep going like this, I said, my voice almost breaking. I don't know if I can stay in a marriage where I feel like everything has been built on lies. Where every time you say you love me, I'm going to wonder if you mean it. She squeezed my hand tighter, her voice full of desperation. Please don't leave me. I know I've made mistakes, but I'm willing to work through this. I'll do anything to prove to you that I can be the wife you need. Please just give me a chance. The words she was saying were everything I wanted to hear, but in my gut, I still couldn't shake the feeling that I'd be making a huge mistake if I tried to move forward with her. Could I really rebuild a life with someone who had broken my trust? Could I move on from the pain of knowing she had shared herself with someone else? I wasn't sure. I can't promise you anything right now, I said, my voice shaky. I need time. I need time to think about everything, about what's best for me, for us. She nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. I'll wait, Alex. I'll wait as long as you need. I'll do whatever it takes. I love you. I left the coffee shop that night with more questions than answers. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, what the right decision was. Could I forgive her? Could we rebuild from this? Or was it time to walk away and find peace on my own? I don't have the answer yet, but I know that this is one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. I have to figure out if I can look past the betrayal, if I can rebuild a life with Emily. I need time to think, but I'm not sure how much time I have left before I have to make a choice. I've been taking time to think, to really process everything. It's been a week since that difficult conversation with Emily, and I still don't have a clear answer. The emotional weight of what happened hasn't lifted, and I've spent a lot of time questioning myself, my feelings, and where I go from here. Every day, I think I'm closer to a decision, but then something hits me, whether it's a memory, a thought, or a conversation with Emily, and I'm back at square one. I've tried to stay busy, distracting myself with work and spending time with friends, but it doesn't take much for the reality of this situation to creep back into my mind. I keep asking myself, can I really move forward with her? Is it possible to rebuild trust after everything that's happened? And then there's the other part of me, the part that still loves her, wondering if I'm throwing away something that could be fixed, if we could fix it. But it's not just about forgiving her. It's about trust. The foundation of everything I believed in, everything I thought we had, is cracked, and I don't know if I can rebuild it. I know I can't make this decision alone. I've been talking to a few close friends, but the one person who knows me best, who knows me better than anyone else, is my best friend, Ryan. We've known each other since high school, and he's seen me go through everything. He's been there for me in every major life moment. So when I finally called him up last night to meet, I knew it was because I was at a crossroads. I needed someone who would tell me the hard truths, someone who would help me see things from a perspective I couldn't. We met at a bar, the kind of place we'd always gone to for those late-night talks about life. I ordered a beer and sat down, trying not to look like I was falling apart. Ryan sat across from me, his eyes immediately scanning my face for any sign of what was going on. You look like hell, man, he said bluntly, always the direct one. I don't know what to do, I said, leaning back in my chair. I'm so lost right now. I'm stuck between wanting to believe Emily, wanting to believe that we can get through this, and the reality of what happened. I don't know if I can ever trust her again. Ryan took a long sip from his drink before responding. Alex, you're not asking the right question. It's not about whether you want to trust her again or if you can forgive her. It's about whether you can trust her again, whether you can live with the fact that she hurt you. Because if you don't, if you can't, then it's not worth staying in this relationship. I ran my hand through my hair, my thoughts swirling. But what if she's changed? What if she's telling the truth? What if I'm throwing away everything we've built? Ryan looked at me seriously. That's the thing, man. You don't have to make this decision today. You're allowed to take the time you need. But you also have to ask yourself, can you live with the doubt? Can you live in a marriage where you'll always be wondering if she's hiding something? You deserve someone who makes you feel secure. And if you can't find that security with Emily anymore, then it might be time to let go. His words hit hard, and I couldn't deny the truth in them. I'd been lying to myself, convincing myself that I could get over the betrayal, that things could go back to how they were. But Ryan was right. If I stayed in this relationship, it would always feel like I was walking on eggshells. It would always feel like something was missing. I don't know if I can get past it, man, I admitted, the weight of it all crashing down on me. Every time I look at her, I see her with Sam. I can't stop seeing it. I don't know how to get over that. Ryan gave me a sympathetic look, but didn't sugarcoat it. That's the thing, Alex. You're trying to fix a problem that's deep. Trust isn't just about forgiveness. It's about rebuilding something that's been shattered. And you can't do that if you're not ready. You can't force it. The conversation with Ryan didn't give me any clear answers, but it did make me realize something important. I needed to stop pretending like I could just fix everything. It wasn't about whether Emily was sorry. It wasn't about whether she could prove herself trustworthy in the future. It was about whether I could live with it. Whether I could live in a relationship where the foundation of trust had been completely fractured. I spent the next couple of days thinking deeply about my options. Emily kept texting me, apologizing, saying that she would do anything to fix things. But the more she texted, the more I realized that I wasn't ready to just forgive her, and maybe I would never be. I don't want to be that guy who stays in a relationship for the sake of convenience or because I'm too afraid of change. But I also don't want to be the guy who throws away a marriage just because it's hard. What I know for sure is that I can't keep going like this. I can't keep living in a state of constant doubt and anxiety. I think I've come to a decision, but it's not an easy one. It's been a few days since my conversation with Ryan, and I can't say I feel any better about the situation. If anything, I feel more torn than ever. Every time I look at Emily, I see the woman who betrayed me, and I don't know if I can ever see her the same way again. The weight of everything we've been through is too much for me to ignore. It feels like I'm suffocating in a marriage that's built on lies and broken promises. But then there's that part of me, the part that remembers the good times, the love we once shared, that tells me maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm being too harsh. The tension in the house is unbearable. Emily has been trying to talk to me, to apologize, to tell me that she's committed to fixing things. But every time I hear her words, all I feel is a pit in my stomach. She says all the right things, but I can't shake the feeling that it's just words. Words don't change the fact that she was with Sam. Words don't change the fact that she chose him over me. I've been staying in a hotel for the last 2 nights to get some distance. I couldn't stand being in the same space as her, pretending like everything was fine when it wasn't. But as much as I want to escape, as much as I want to walk away and never look back, I can't. I'm stuck in this limbo, torn between wanting to move forward and wanting to forget everything. I know I need to make a decision. I can't keep going back and forth like this. The emotional toll it's taking on me is too much. But the decision is so hard. Part of me wants to forgive her, wants to give her a chance to prove that she can change, that we can rebuild. But another part of me is so hurt, so betrayed, that I don't know if I can ever get past it. Tonight, Emily called me and asked if we could meet. She said she wanted to talk, and for the first time in a while, I agreed. We met at a small park near our apartment, somewhere that felt neutral, where we wouldn't be confined by the walls of our home. I knew this conversation had to happen, but I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't sure I would ever be ready. We sat down on a bench, both of us silent for a few minutes. Emily was the first to speak. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she said, her voice soft but earnest. I know you've been hurting, and I understand why. I've hurt you in ways that I can't even begin to explain. But I need you to know that I'm not the person I was when I made those choices. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm asking you to give me the chance to prove that I can be better, that I can earn your trust back. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that we could rebuild, that everything wasn't lost. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could trust her again. I didn't know if I could ever get past what had happened. I don't know if I can, Emily, I said, my voice shaking. I don't know if I can trust you again. I don't know if I can ever look at you and not feel the betrayal. You were with him. You were with someone else while I was here, thinking everything was fine. And now, I'm supposed to pretend like nothing happened. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't do it. I couldn't let her touch me right now, not with everything that had happened. I'm not asking for you to forgive me right now, Alex, she said, tears filling her eyes. I'm asking for a chance. I'm asking for the opportunity to show you that I can be the person you need me to be. But I can't do that if you don't give me the chance. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I don't know if I can give you that chance, I said quietly. I don't know if I can live with the doubt. I don't know if I can move past this. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily sat there, staring at me, waiting for me to say something, to give her something to hold on to. But I couldn't. I couldn't give her false hope. I couldn't tell her everything would be okay when I wasn't sure it ever would be. I don't want to give up on us, I said, finally breaking the silence. But I'm scared, Emily. I'm scared that I'll never be able to trust you again. I'm scared that I'll always see him when I look at you. She cried silently, her shoulders shaking. I understand. I know I've destroyed everything we had. But please know that I love you. I love you more than anything, and I'm willing to fight for us. I'll fight for you, for as long as it takes. And in that moment, I realized something important. No matter how much she fought for us, no matter how much she wanted to make things right, I had to be the one to decide if it was worth fighting for. I had to decide if I was willing to live with the doubt, with the fear of betrayal. I'm still not sure what the right decision is. I still don't know if I can forgive her. But I do know one thing. I can't keep living in this constant state of uncertainty. I need clarity. I need peace. And I need to figure out if I can trust her again, or if it's time to walk away for good. The days after that conversation with Emily were a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about what she said, about what I said, and about everything we had lost. The space between us felt like an abyss that I wasn't sure could ever be crossed again. The doubt in my mind was growing heavier with every hour. I kept thinking about the trust we had before all of this. How easy it was to believe in each other. How easy it was to picture a future together. And now? Now, I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. I spent the next few days going through the motions, going to work, eating, sleeping, but nothing felt right. Emily tried to reach out to me, to talk, to beg for more time, but I didn't know if I could give her that. I didn't know if I could give myself that. I felt trapped in a cycle of indecision, torn between the woman I loved and the man I had become, a man who couldn't let go of the betrayal that had shaken his entire world. Each time I looked at her, I saw a reflection of the woman who had broken my heart. I saw her with Sam, in our home, in our space. It felt like she had shattered everything I thought we had. It wasn't just the affair. It was the years of trust and love that I felt had been erased in one moment of weakness. But the longer I let the silence linger, the more I realized how unfair it was to Emily, too. She had apologized countless times, and part of me felt like I was punishing her for my own inability to move forward. The question that kept haunting me was, could we rebuild this? After days of agonizing over the decision, I decided to take a step back and evaluate everything from a different angle. I knew I needed clarity, something more than just raw emotion and instinct. So, I took a day off work and spent it alone, trying to process things without the constant pressure of Emily's presence or the guilt of avoiding her. I went to a park near our apartment, one that Emily and I had visited countless times when we were first dating. The air was crisp, and for the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. I needed to be by myself and think things through without being clouded by the constant tension at home. I sat on a bench, watching the people around me, and for the first time, I allowed myself to think about what I wanted. Not what Emily wanted, not what I thought was expected of me, but what I truly needed. It was in that moment, sitting in the quiet of the park, that I realized something. I couldn't keep living in the past. No matter how badly I wanted to turn back time, I couldn't. Emily had hurt me, but I wasn't sure if holding on to the pain was going to heal anything. I couldn't keep punishing myself, nor could I keep punishing her. If there was a chance for us to rebuild, it was going to have to start with me. I needed to decide if I could forgive her, not for her sake, but for mine. And if I couldn't, then it was time to walk away. I didn't have all the answers, but in that quiet moment, I felt a small sense of peace. I knew what I had to do. I needed to go home, have one more conversation with Emily, and make the decision that I'd been avoiding for so long. I walked back into the apartment later that evening, feeling a sense of resolve I hadn't felt in days. Emily was sitting on the couch, waiting for me, her face weary but hopeful. She stood up when she saw me, and I could tell she had been waiting for this moment as much as I had. "Alex," she said softly, walking over to me. "I've been giving you space because I know I've hurt you. But please, please, just tell me where we stand. I can't keep going like this, unsure of what you're thinking. I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel betrayed in the same way I had before. I felt something different. Sadness. Acceptance. But most of all, I felt clarity. Emily. I began, my voice steady, though it was still full of emotion. I've been so angry, and I've been so hurt, and I've been blaming you for everything that's happened. But I've realized something. I can't live in the past anymore. I have to decide what comes next, and so do you. She took a tentative step forward, as if she were afraid to hear what was coming. I've thought a lot about this, I continued, and I don't know if I can forgive you for what happened. I don't know if I can forget what you did. But what I do know is that I need to take control of my own life, my own future, and I can't do that if I keep living in this limbo of uncertainty. Emily's face crumpled, and she collapsed into a chair, wiping her eyes. Please, Alex. I swear to you, I will spend the rest of my life proving that I can be the person you deserve. I love you. I am so sorry for what I've done. I sat down across from her, taking a deep breath. Emily, I'm not sure I can keep going with this. I don't know if I can trust you again, and I don't know if I'm ready to live with that doubt every day. But I need time. I need time to figure out if I can heal from this, if I can even look at you and feel the same way. If I can't, then it's over. But I'm not ready to make that decision yet. She nodded, a quiet understanding in her eyes. I understand, Alex. I won't push you, but I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes to prove that I'm worth your trust again. I stood up, my mind still heavy with indecision. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had taken a step toward healing. Whether that meant rebuilding with Emily or walking away, I couldn't say. But for now, I knew I had to take it one day at a time.